Hey everyone, I'm happy to be with you today. It is, I almost said March the 10th because I'm actually looking at my Bible, March 10th for a reason. It is September 2nd. It is not March the 10th. We are marching on towards the New Testament. But I wanted to, before I sat down, or when I sat down, I was like, oh, I need to mark this part in my Bible. On your notes, somewhere, write down March 10th, because that's where you're going to find the story of the tribes that stayed on the east side of Jordan. It is Numbers 32 if you're in your regular Bible and you're not reading chronologically with us in the chronological Bible. It's Numbers 32. But these tribes, Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, which is one of Joseph's children, sons, they elected to stay on the east side when everyone else crossed the Jordan. Now, there was a big discussion about that. Is no, you need to go with your brothers. You need to fight with the brothers. You need to be with the people. And they said, look, let us get settled here. The land is big enough for all of our cattle and our families and all. We will come. When time comes, we will come. And they did. They did come, cross over the Jordan. They did come and help the other tribes settle. I really shouldn't have said brothers because they're not actual brothers. All the original brothers have long since been deceased. I should have said tribes when the tribes crossed over. And they, so these tribes of those people, those brothers, the 12 brothers, the tribes of Jacob, or whose name was changed to Israel, in the Old Testament when he wrestled with God. But they came back and they settled in this land. And I just think it's interesting that when captivity happened, the Babylonians did not forget about the people over on the east side of the river. They went over and got them too. But there's a great lesson to be learned from them, and it was just reading that short passage there in our reading in First Chronicles, the 18 through 26 verses, that first little section there of our reading. You're reading along and you find these great attributes for the tribes. They were skilled. They were armed. They cried out to God. They trusted God. Their leaders had great reputations. So you think, oh, wow, this is going great. But then let's get to verse 26 that says, but these tribes were unfaithful to God, for their ancestors, the God of their ancestors. They worshiped the gods of the nations that God had destroyed. So, I'm just that kind of word nerd. I really am. But is a conjunction. The word but is a conjunction that joins two phrases together. And there are lots of different definitions for the word but. And in fact, when you look in the British dictionary, this was just fun. I'm throwing this in for free. Who knew that but could be the outer or front room of a house, the outer or front room of an apartment house, the kitchen of a two-room dwelling, especially of a cottage? Who knew? I had no idea. Can you imagine saying, I'm going to go to the but and cook dinner? Anyways, I don't know, that's weird. I know, but I had to throw that in. Is that just odd? It's odd. But can also be defined as contrary to expectation. And I wanted to pull that in because the simple point is this: trust and unfaithfulness cannot hold hands. These tribes had it all going on. They had everything that appeared to be what they needed to be strong, mighty nations to defend themselves. They cried out to God. God helped them. God skilled them. God armed them. God did all of these things. They trusted God. But on the contrary, as expected, and not as expected, God allowed them to be captive. Why? Why would God allow that to happen? Because the same reason as the people on the other side of the river. They were disobedient. They had idolatry in their lives. It was a part of their lives. They went to the mountains where the gods of the world were. All of them were up in the mountains, and that's where they went. Trust and unfaithfulness cannot hold hands. They can't. Yes, we are going to be unfaithful to God, but it cannot be a lifestyle for us. And we just run to Him whenever we need Him. That's not Christianity. That's not a faith-filled life. That is emergency. That is dialing 911. That's what that's doing. It's dialing 911. And I don't know who wrote this. I saw it on social media at one point. We can't sit down and dine at a table God has overturned. He had already helped them wipe out their enemies, was faithful to them, built them up, provided for them, blessed them, and then they sit down right at the same table as those the gods of the nations that they overtook, and dined with them. And we can't do that. Either I'm faithful or I'm not. And so we really need to determine, am I faithful? Am I going to sin? Yes. Am I going to disappoint God? Yes. I'm not saying we're perfect, because nobody is, and we're not going to be on this side of heaven. The only perfect one that ever lived was Jesus. But are we fighting for our faithfulness? Are we spending time in the Word every day? Are we praying? Are we worshiping? Are we engaged in a body of believers? Yes, read through the Word as a body of believers. But are we engaged in a fellowship, a local fellowship? Because the Word says don't neglect fellowship with the brethren. We need each other. The body of Christ, the church of God, needs one another. So what are we doing? What are you doing? What am I doing? That's what we need to be asking ourselves, to fight for our faithfulness, to keep our seat at the table that He set for us in the presence of our enemies. And we can watch them because they have fallen, and we are not going to dine with them any longer. We'll sit right up at the table that He set for us, and we'll sit with Him. And our enemies cannot hurt us, but we cannot join them and still be at God's table. A lot to think about in that little word, that 3 little letter word, isn't it? Y'all have a great day, and I will see you next time on Read Through the Word.